In many countries, the number of animals and plants is declining. Why do you think this is happening? How can this issue be solved? There is widespread concern over recent declines in global biodiversity. In my opinion, the clearest causes relate to human overpopulation, and the solutions are for governments to prioritize conservation reforms. The primary catalyst for these declining numbers is the growth of human population figures. The global population increases yearly, and this has a number of ramifications for the natural environment. Most directly, residents require homes, and that necessitates intrusions, as evidenced by the uncontrollable urban sprawl around major metropolitan areas. This means plants and animals lose their natural habitats. A more significant consequence concerns industry. In order to provide food and various products and services for a large human population, corporations have razed entire forests, drilled for oil in pristine natural environments, and greatly exploited the natural world at the expense of wildlife. This problem can only be effectively tackled by governments. Governments must establish clear regulations concerning the habitats of various plant and animal life. A good example of this would be the numerous national parks established in the United States at the beginning of the 20th century. At that time, industry was threatening to corrupt the majority of usable land, and so the government and visionary reformists acted decisively out of a spirit of conservation. Other countries that take similar steps will also be able to curb the relentless, and often thoughtless, progress of humanity. In conclusion, plant and animal life is at risk due to growing human populations, and governments can best mitigate this threat. Individuals should also play a small role by reducing their consumption. Some people think that individuals today are more dependent on each other. Others believe people have become more independent. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. Many are of the opinion that people today are less self-reliant than at any point in the past. In my opinion, there exists the possibility to be completely independent, but the most are justifiably more reliant on each other now. Those who believe people today are more independent argue technology is liberating. In the past, a person who wanted to do research or enjoy a movie would have to leave their home, interact with others, and engage more with the community at large. However, it is now possible to live a largely insular lifestyle. Users can sign up for educational courses online, order food by delivery, and access mass amounts of information freely. Those who take advantage of these modern conveniences can theoretically become more independent and self-reliant. The question of whether this ideal is often achieved is still a matter of debate. The main reason people are less independent today is this quality is no longer considered unequivocally positive. The traditional importance placed on keeping one's composure, enduring difficult situations, and not requiring the help of others has been replaced in recent decades with a more progressive outlook that elevates vulnerability and dependence on others. It is now more common, for men especially, to be open to revealing their own weaknesses and asking for help. This social shift in turn has led to an increased reliance on the community, both online and in person, as well as a modern acceptance of wellness, therapy, and the importance of a compassionate support network for long-term mental health. In conclusion, though many people have the potential to lead a more independent lifestyle thanks to advances in internet technology, most are now more dependent than ever before because of seismic shifts in society. This change has its positives and negatives, but its reality is undeniable. Some people think that there should be a complete ban on all forms of advertising. To what extent do you agree or disagree? There are those who have suggested the possibility of totally banning all advertising. In my opinion, though this would seemingly improve society, the actual impact would be to imperil the global economy. Supporters of a prohibition argue the injurious impact of advertising on human society and health. On the most superficial level, advertising is distracting. Individuals must strive to avoid ads on television, online, on billboards, and in magazines. All this can contribute to the anxiety and declining mental health that characterizes modern man. Beyond this, advertising has a pernicious impact on how the world operates. Corporations and entire national economies are structured around an ideal of continual consumption that not only harms the environment but also transforms individuals into a means for a financial end. Nonetheless, actually banning advertising would disrupt the global financial system. Nearly every nation and economy depends on advertising as the foundation of a capitalist system. Some of the largest companies in the world, including Facebook and Google, generate the vast majority of their revenue from targeted marketing, and their dissolution would have ramifications across a range of industries. The implications could also become deeper. If individuals and companies no longer had the ability to advertise products and services, they would likely lose the motivation to innovate. Over time, this could result in stifling progress in major fields ranging from medicine and internet technology to entertainment and the sciences more generally. In conclusion, despite the negative effects of advertising on human society, it is an important catalyst for growth in the modern world. Advertisements should be regulated but not eliminated entirely. Some feel governments, rather than private companies, should be in charge of medical services. To what extent do you agree or disagree? There has been widespread debate in recent years concerning whether healthcare should be private or public. In my opinion, despite the importance of government regulation in the healthcare industry, a freer system will naturally encourage greater innovation. The best support for government-controlled healthcare comes from the exorbitant costs of private care. The United States is the best known example of this phenomenon. There are countless stories of vulnerable individuals requiring medical attention who face the prospect of years of nearly insurmountable medical bills. If the government runs the hospitals, as is the case in more progressive nations including Canada and England, the average person does not have to worry about prohibitively expensive medical emergencies. Citizens living in these countries now consider free medical treatment for the injured or ill as a foundational human right that governments have a responsibility to safeguard. However, governments are notorious for stifling innovation. This applies to a range of sectors and can best be evidenced by the failure of communism as an economic model. The less extreme forms of socialism that guide many European nations guarantee basic care, but hospitals are not motivated to compete and excel. Despite the many drawbacks of the U.S. healthcare system, hospitals there routinely fund and are driven to uncover new treatments and procedures in order to attract more patients. While surging costs may leave behind vulnerable segments of the population, hospitals have a powerful motivation to produce the best possible results for those who can afford treatment. In conclusion, medicine should be available for all citizens, but this cannot be at the expense of the quality of healthcare. Governments should regulate the medical industry and provide welfare schemes, yet still allow for a competitive environment.